Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Lizzie. I live in a small town in Vermont, stay-at-home mom with almost 4 kids. I'm expecting another baby any day, and I am trying to get my first round seed started before I go into the hospital because it frankly just needs to get done. So I am here right now. We're going to go over a couple of things about my seed starting. This is my 4th year starting seeds. As you can see, this is a very non-aesthetic video because my seed starting setup is very non-aesthetic. I just do all of this in my New England basement. It's a pretty good place to start seeds for the most part. I have grow lights behind me. That's why it's really bright right there. But it's also cool enough for the cool flowers. So it works really well for both cool flowers and for warm flowers. So first thing I want to show you was some of my new seed starting supplies. So one goal that I've had for this year for myself, for my garden, has been, this is not going to sound very good, but it's just being honest, it's to not cut corners. For the last couple years, I have done some things that have saved some money, but because of the way that I've done them, I think I have not gotten as good enough results as maybe I could have. And so this is one of them. The seed starting materials is one of them. I used to use these really cheap seed starting 72 cell count trays that were only about this deep, that I got off Amazon. They were like the cheapest ones, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to use that. But I think they really affected the blooms of my flowers, especially because they were never really able to get their roots down deep. I have gotten some new trays. These are 50 cell count trays. They are 2.5, I believe, inches deep. And they are very durable. They're super thick plastic. I can tell they're really nice. They've got the holes at the bottom. And then on top of that, I also got the 10-20 trays that go along with them. And so I can pop those right in there, and I can water the bottom of it so that there's always water. I'm not coming down here finding things excessively dry, those kinds of things. And so that was an investment this year that I just needed to make. So seed starting in December. Some of these things seem really early to start, but I have reasons for starting them. So first things I'm working on that I've already worked on, and I'll show you some things that are already started. Well, they're not growing, so there's really no reason to look at it, but is pansies. I'm starting with pansies. So it's a little bit early to start pansies because normally they need about 10 to 12 weeks before you're going to put them out. And here in Vermont, that's going to be a beginning of April, mid of April is when we can put them out. Pansies can handle a soft frost, and so we can put them out before the possibility of frost has passed. But I want them to be blooming by the time I open the roadside stand, which is probably going to be at the beginning of April-ish time, depending on the weather. And it takes about 4 months from the time you start that seed till bloom time, again, depending on lots of different things, but that's kind of the generalization of it. So I am starting them now with the intention of they'll be blooming or very close to blooming by the time the farm stand opens in April. So these are the 3 varieties of pansies that I am starting. This is the All Smear King Size Mix. These are from Johnny's. So these are like the normal colors, but the blooms are bigger, and these are long stems. These are 16 to 18 inches long. So you can definitely use these as borders, you know, containers, those kinds of things like normal. But you also can use these as cut flowers, which a lot of people use them for. I don't know that I'll necessarily use them for that, but I wanted to try them and try something different. Another one I have is the Imperial Antique Shades. Again, a little bit of a longer stem that you could cut and potentially put into like a short vase. And these are like a very pastel-y kind of color. So I have quite a few of those for myself, and then I think I have a few left to put into some 6-packs for the farm stand. And then the last one I got was from Baker Creek called Blue Perfection. I don't know what to expect from this because on the website they looked much more blue, and blue in the flower world is a key word for purple. So I'm not going to be surprised if they're purple. But then when I got the packet, it looks much more blue. So I'm not really sure what to expect. It's still pretty. It's not that it's not going to be pretty, but I was hoping for more of a blue color, but that's okay. So we're going to put these into 6-packs for people to purchase on the farm stand. So I have my seed starting mix. I use this natural and organic seed starting mix from Jiffy. I've used it since I've started seed starting, and it's always worked really well. I pre-moisten my soil. I'm not necessarily going to give you a tutorial every single time I do all of these. And then I'm going to fill them all up so that I can get these packed. Now with pansies, they want complete darkness in order to germinate. So what I actually am going to do is I'm putting them in my 10-20 trays, but then I'm going to put another 10-20 tray over top of it to completely keep any light out. I will every few days come down here and mist, not water really, but mist the top of it just to keep them moist. And it could take anywhere from 10 to 14 days to get these to start to germinate. Then once they are germinated, they will go underneath the lights without a heat mat. They do not need a heat mat. They prefer it chilly. So if you are starting these from seed, you do need a chilly place. And I don't mean like freezing or anything, but you do need a chilly place. Down here in my basement stays about 60 to 65 degrees. The air temperature, which means the soil is even a little bit chillier than that, probably 50 to 55 degrees is the soil temperature. So that is good. So you could do an unheated garage maybe and keep them on the floor until they're germinated. Something like that. They need to be protected from any type of hard frost or anything like that before they go outside to live. And they do not like the heat. They're not fans of the heat. And so this is a spring crop that I want to put out as soon as I possibly can to try to enjoy it for as long as I can before I start putting petunias out and all kinds of other things too. All right, so pansies are done. They are over in the corner by themselves, stacked up away from those black boxes right there, away from the lights. Not that the light could get in anyways. And hopefully I have enough seed starting mix to do my next project, but we'll see. My next project is lisianthus. So I am starting these a little bit earlier than I did last year, not for any reason other than just to give them a little bit of time to grow. So last year lisianthus did really well until I put them out in the field. They did everything they were supposed to do. They germinated like they were supposed to. They grew on like they were supposed to. I put them out there. They were ready to be put out. It was the perfect time I put them out, everything. But my one problem was that I put them, I have like this cold row, this row of cool flowers that I have homemade plastic row cover. That's what I'm trying to say. That I have homemade plastic row cover over top of them so that I can put them out when it's still snowing outside and still getting frost. And I put them out there, they were doing fine, but I put them next to the bells of Ireland. And I had never done bells of Ireland either. And I did not realize how big and bushy the bells of Ireland would get. And so they just completely took over the lisianthus. And by the time I figured it out, it was too late. They hadn't really gotten enough water. The sun wasn't hitting them in the right way. And so I lost my lisianthus. I ended up hating the bells of Ireland, like absolutely hating the way that they look. So I'm not doing that this year anyways. So I will be much more careful with these this year. We will see how it goes. Lisianthus are very difficult to grow. Most flower farmers buy them as plugs from like Farmer Bailey's or Ball or something like that. But to save money, I am doing it from seed, and I guess it really doesn't save you money if it ends up failing, but you know what? Try again. So here we are again, trying with our lisianthus seeds. So I got 4 different varieties, and they are all from Johnny's. So I have a Roseanne Black Pearl, which I believe that is a group 1. I will correct myself on the screen if I am wrong when I edit this. I have a Voyage 2 Champagne, which is a group 2, which means that's going to bloom next. So the group 1 will bloom first, then the 2, and then I have 2 different 3s to try. The Lisadora Apricot and the Arena 3 Red. And so I'm trying both of those as well. And so the concept is that group 1 blooms, then group 2, then group 3. And I have 50 seeds of each of these. So I will have 4 trays. So I will have a total of 200 plants. And my plan is to put half of them in my greenhouse and half of them out in the field. And the goal of that is to get lots and lots of staggered blooms, because the the Roseanne Black Pearl will bloom first in the greenhouse, then it will bloom out in the field, then I'll have the second one bloom, and then I'll have the third one bloom, greenhouse, field. And so I'll have should have a really nice succession of lisianthus if this works out right. So I'm going to use my 50 cell count trays. It really doesn't need to be this deep, but my 72 cell count trays are going to be too small. So I'm going to do these ones. These are slow growers. They are going to stay inside of here until I will probably not be able to put them out at least until the middle of March. Whoop, got kicked on, sorry. At least the middle of March, potentially the beginning of April, depending on what our weather's like and how durable the soil is and how usable the soil is. I got to be able to really get down in there and put them in good. So they're going to be underneath the grow lights for all that time. So I'm going to again fill my trays. It's pre-moistened. I'm going to make sure to put my labels. These are pelleted seeds, so they have a little bit of coating around them. Lisianthus do need light to germinate, so I'm just going to lightly press them on the top of the soil. And you can use a humidity dome. You can purchase those when you purchase these type of materials, but I actually just use plastic wrap. And I put plastic wrap over the top until about 75% of them are germinated, and then I'll take them off and they can just learn to live underneath the grow lights. So let's get started with this lisianthus. The last thing that I am going to do for seed starting for in December, which can also be done in January, but I did it in January last year and it didn't end up the way I wanted it to, is onions. Anytime I've really started onions from those onion sets, just from like Home Depot, and they've never really done very well. So I started from seed last year, and they did fine. They were just small, like they weren't as big as I would have liked them to be. Like I'd like to be twice that size. And after some research and watching some different videos and stuff, I'm realizing I think I started them too late. They need a really long time to get going. And so I started them towards the end of January February last year. So I'm starting them a whole month early. And I'm gonna see how that really goes this year, see if we can make that a little bit better. I also think I may have tried pulling them a little bit too early too, and just kind of given up on them. It also wasn't a good year because it was dry. So all kinds of things. So we're starting again, but I'm doing it way earlier this year. So with this, I'm actually going to do it differently. I'm not going to use the seed starting mix. It's really not necessary. I'm just going to use regular potting soil. Actually just regular gardening soil, like raised bed mix type of soil, because it's much cheaper. So I'm also not going to use these 50 cell count trays. These are going to be used for other better things. And so I'm not going to use them for onions, but onions can go in literally anything. They can just go in pots. So I do not have my onion seeds right now with me down here. They are upstairs. But I'm going to probably put them in some type of container. It literally doesn't matter what it is. It can go in anything. And then again, put plastic wrap over the top, keep it misted, put it under the grow lights on a heat mat until they're well germinated. Now, they will grow fairly quickly, those green little stalks. And when they start to get too long or too leggy, they just need a little haircut. And I'll give them a little haircut, and then they'll keep growing and get bushier and bushier. And then when I put them out, hopefully they'll be a decent size instead of just a little skinny thing to put out, to hopefully give it a little bit of a push toward growing up quickly. So that is it for this video today. I am 39 weeks pregnant today, so there is not a whole lot of effort left in my body to do this and to get these things done, but they have to get done. So thank you for watching. I'm interested to find out if you started your seed starting yet, and if not, what are you planning for January to start for your seed starting? And I'll see you the next time. Bye.